Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 204, written by Oatman0, an ominous sound at 4 in the morning. Guys, so at 4 in the morning, I was awakened by this strange sound that seemed to be very peculiar, something that I've never heard before in my life. This sound kept going for around 10 to 12 minutes and was coming straight from the sky. I have recorded it as well, as you're hearing now. When this began, I had just woken up, so I was quite taken aback by it, and slowly I began to wonder if it was an alien UFO or something like that. But after a few minutes, I began to think reasonably, and the only obvious explanation is that it is a drone. I just assumed that it was a drone and calmed down. But all of a sudden, it stopped. All of a sudden, there's no sound at all. I don't think drones are that fast at all. And plus, who uses a drone at literally 4 in the morning? So I'm very confused at what the sound is. Do you guys recognize it? And yes, that screeching noise after every hum is coming from it too. It was coming directly from the sky, but when I looked, I saw nothing in the sky. Please tell me what you think that sound is. Case file number 205, written by ARL1509. Swift like a ninja, they vanished. A little context. I was at an airport waiting to board a plane. I was 19 at the time, and my family and I were taking a trip to Barbados. We were all sitting next to each other in the terminal, waiting to board. I was mostly on my phone, occasionally glancing up. Eventually, I got distracted watching this couple sitting across from us entertaining their toddler with the toy maraca, those tough plastic ones babies always chew up. The strange part came when my phone buzzed with a text from my friends. I only glanced down to see who the text was from for a moment before looking back up. And when I did, the couple and their toddler were gone, including their belongings. I scanned the terminal for them, but I didn't see them anywhere. I mentioned it to my mom at the time, and she also seemed puzzled, but wrote it off as them leaving to board. I don't see how anyone could have left with all their belongings in just a second or two. Case file number 206, written by BECKYISHERE, The Key, a Purple Butterfly. This story starts many years before the main event. Long story short, a butterfly sat on me at my father's funeral. A purple one which we couldn't find in a book afterwards. A similar butterfly sat on a wall by me when I got lost after that. Maybe just coincidence. Maybe just ordinary butterflies. But something personal to me that I never spoke about with anyone. Many years later, I had to travel hundreds of miles to the office of a colleague I was doing a project with, and while we were working, his coworker came in for a few seconds to get something, and we had the standard introduction, this is X, hi, this is Y. I forgot about him. About a year after that, my colleague and I were at a conference, and he asked me if I remembered his coworker from the year before. I said, very vaguely. I only met him for 10 seconds. My colleague was really embarrassed about something and told me that his coworker had now retired and that when he cleared out his desk at work, he had found something in his desk and was absolutely insistent that it be given to that woman who visited you that I met one afternoon. My coworker then apologized that it was very stupid and handed me a purple plastic butterfly. Just coincidence? You tell me. Case file number 207, written by Deltanonymous. A plane on fire that was never heard of or reported on again. A few years back, my best friend and I were heading downtown via highway from the suburbs to a hockey game. It was about 4 p.m., sun shining, no clouds, blue sky. Normal afternoon traffic as this was during the middle of the week. We both see a plane up ahead and to our left, fairly high up, but noticeably a commercial airliner. You could see flames on the right side of the plane, and it was trailing black smoke. We had just left the suburbs, so there's no major airport nearby. About 40 plus minutes straight south driving time to the nearest one. The plane was flying east, but we were too far north for it to be circling to legitimately land at the usual airports. Both my friend and I kept track of it for about 5 minutes down the highway at 70 miles per hour. The highway does not get blocked by trees, a barrier, buildings, or anything. We had an easy time seeing it. I looked online to see if any reports had shown up about it. Nothing. We had to slow down suddenly from traffic, so we both looked forward. Then before we got going again, we looked right back where the plane should have been, and it was gone. Nothing there. Again, there was nothing for it to disappear behind. It was moving at a normal airliner pace, never changing direction. It was just gone. My friend and I didn't know what to make of it. I checked for any reports of downed planes over the next few days, and found nothing. Legitimately, it's like it never happened. It's just crazy. I could clearly see flames and smoke. I do know that commercial airlines can look like tubes or blimps with the right reflection or refraction of light, as if the wings aren't there. Or with the right reflection, they can look just like a ball of light and may disappear. I had spent the next 15 minutes of the ride looking for it before we would be too far. Never saw it again. No smoke trail or anything. No reappearance due to shifting light. Just nothing anywhere. I don't get it. If you're enjoying this video, consider giving it a like. Now on to the next story. Bonus file, written by Aurelion. It was fast, it was furry, it had unbelievable eyes. I absolutely want to make it clear that this is true. My wife and I both witnessed this and will never forget what we saw last night. I am a 43-year-old man, a former Marine with a lot of time at sea and a former railroader. So I've been to a lot of places that are just hard to get to for most folk. I have never seen anything like what we saw last night. And it happened on Highway 50 in between Penrose and Pueblo, Colorado. My wife was working a closing shift in Cannon City last night. I left Pueblo and made the drive west as usual. After she clocked out, we went to pick up our son from his job, only to find he wasn't working last night. On the drive back from Cannon, you pass Penrose, and then there's a place I have always called the Big Hole. The Big Hole is actually called Pierce Gulch. There is a significant drop in elevation, and then you immediately climb back out, hence my nickname. As we were approaching the Big Hole at about 12:40 a.m., something traveling from north to south crossed all 4 lanes and median of Highway 50 at an incredible rate of speed. We were the only vehicle out there at this time of night, and we nearly hit it. It was roughly 3 feet tall and had long brown hair everywhere. And again, this thing was hauling ass, faster than any animal I have ever seen or heard of. My wife was driving and had our son on speakerphone. She startled and looked at me and asked, "What the hell was that?" By this time, we were down in the bottom of the gulch and headed back up the hill. We told our son what we saw, and my wife got off the call. We discussed it for a second and decided to go back and see if maybe it had gotten caught in the barbed wire fence or something. Maybe there was some trace of this thing. We both were amazed by how fast it was moving. By 12:45, we had traveled back to the west side of the gulch and turned around. There wasn't any traffic, so my wife just slowly rolled down the shoulder of the highway, and I had my window down and was shining a flashlight that I had in the car out into the field. There isn't much out there except cactus and stuff. As we came up to the approximate area we saw this thing, I told my wife, "Hey, look, do you see those eyes?" She said yes and stopped the car. 10 yards or so on the other side of the fence was a pair of very bright, very blue eyes, not far off the ground. I was thinking we probably were looking at a coyote or something. It was looking directly back at us. What happened next, I will never forget as long as I live. Whatever those eyes belonged to, freaking stood up like a man, like a 6.5 foot to 7 foot man. They were still looking at us. Whatever it was that flew across the road at like Mach 2, this was it. This was the hairy thing we saw. There was a moment of disbelief and shock, and then as it registered, that we found the thing and it wasn't just some animal, the fear kicked in. I told my wife, "Go, go, go, freaking go!" It seemed like slow motion. She floored the gas and the thing watched us leave. We already knew that the thing was incredibly fast. So she drove as fast as she could and out of the gulch, and I was looking at the back window and checking mirrors. My wife was afraid it might be following us. It wasn't, and I didn't want to make things worse by admitting that I was worried too. We drove very fast for several minutes. We talked, but it was almost like we were just talking to ourselves, like, oh my freaking god, what the hell was that? And was it waiting for us? Soon the lights from Pueblo West were ahead, and we were back in civilization. Once we got into the city, we finally started to relax a little. We talked until we got home and then checked the car for anything. We couldn't really go to sleep for hours. My wife got online and was searching for anything that matched the creature we saw. She found some stories, paranormal in nature, of other people witnessing a creature that sounded exactly like the one we had seen. She has to work the same shift tonight, so on our way to Cannon City, we're going to stop and go out into the field where we saw that thing and see if there's any evidence, footprints or hair, something,